if we went and looked at every quarterback in the league, their last 13 starts as a favorite, they're probably not 10-3 straight up. Okay?
Right.
As an underdog, and you also got to factor this part of it. This is what really makes that number insane. They've been great his entire career. So when they're an underdog, they're playing like the other best team in the sport and usually on the like, has he ever been an under? I think maybe once or twice at Arrowhead, right? Like he's never. I think last year against Buffalo he was
one time, and is that game against Buffalo?
Okay.
It looks like it is that game.
Yep. Games are all on the road or neutral sites of the Super Bowl, and he's 11-1-1 against the spread and 10-3 straight up, which means on the road as an underdog or a neutral site, he is 10-2 straight up. Good luck to San Francisco this weekend.
Thanks for listening to KC Sports Network, proudly presented by Emprise Bank. If you're thinking about starting a business or know someone who is, check out Emprise Bank's SBA loans. It's always good to know your options, and they can be your partner in possible.
Welcome back into That Football Show here on KC Sports Network. I'm your host, Tucker Franklin, joined, as always, by my co-host, Matt Verderame. Thank you to Ben Holiday, Bottled and Bond Bourbon, Holiday Distillery, for making this show possible, for bringing That Football Show to your ear holes. Off of a bye week, the Chiefs are now heading to San Francisco for a Super Bowl rematch of LIV and LVII, commonly known as 58 and 54. Look at that, pulling those numbers out of my head. Matt, how are you doing?
I'm good. It's funny that, the Chiefs now have been in so many Super Bowls recently that you're like, which Super Bowl was that?
Right.
Which game was that? I mean, that everything could have that problem in your life. Mm-hmm. Trying to figure out which one the Chiefs, which game was that game? Was it the first time they beat the Niners or the second time they beat the Niners? Now life's good for the Chiefs.
Yeah, it's been pretty all right. It's been pretty good. And obviously they come off a bye week, early bye week in the season. Look, I think that there is some positives, obviously, to any time you get a bye week. The placement of this could be a little more ideal, I think, for the Chiefs. But look, you got to play the teams put on your schedule. You got to do with the bye weeks on your schedule as well. It's a very common college football thing, right? That we say a lot of times in college football. You got to play the teams on your schedule. But now it's with the NFL, where you got all these games, these bye weeks too. Lots of interesting stuff going on in the NFL. Trade stove heating up. We got a couple of wide receiver trades. Are the Chiefs going to make a move? We'll have to find out. Hopefully by the time this podcast comes out, it's already dated. Because the Chiefs did make a move. Chiefs obviously traveling to San Francisco. There's going to be some pretty decent matchups. A nationally televised game, by the way, for the Kansas City Chiefs on Fox. I don't know if you saw this. Part of our Maps segment that we're going to be doing later on in the show. Chiefs game is nationally televised on Fox.
It is. It is. I mean, it's basically like the Sunday night game, but just at 4:25 Eastern.
Yeah.
Because I don't think anybody's that enthused to watch Steelers-Jets, including the Steelers and the Jets.
Did the Steelers... Oh, no, never mind. Sorry. I was on Week 5 schedule. I was very confused because I thought the Steelers had back-to-back Sunday night games.
No, but
that would be wild.
We're probably going to get Mr. Unlimited in this game.
That is insane, by the way, that they flipped that. I know we usually start with Chiefs on this show first, but this might just be a meandering show, and we appreciate everyone listening to us. Drop a like, drop a subscribe, leave a 5-star rating and review, all that good stuff. We talk about the league-wide here. If you're new here, we do appreciate you listening for the first time. We talk Chiefs and league-wide. We might just meander on this show here, Matt, because I think there's a lot going on in the league that all kinds of intertwines with each other, especially the Chiefs coming off a bye week, so we don't have a game to talk about.
Yep.
But that is a wild move by the Pittsburgh Steelers to bench Justin Fields, who was, had it off to a decent start. They're not like world beaters by any means, but
right.
They're 4-2. They won 4 football games with Justin Fields as their quarterback, and they're like, nah, never mind. We're going to go with Russell Wilson.
Yeah. Listen, I don't know. There's a part of me that's like Justin Fields has thrown for under 200 yards in 4 of his 6 games. Like, that might be the reason.
Yeah.
But there's another part of me that's like, you're going to Russell Wilson. Right. Like, I don't know. Is that going to make you dynamic? I feel like this might be a one-game experiment. Although I was on the MMQB podcast with Albert Breer on Monday, which was the low point of Albert's career. And we got together and did that. And we talked about how he actually was kind of adamant that they were going to stay with Fields. And I pushed back a little. I was like, I don't know, man. Fields is throwing for $150 a game. They might go. Now, I point this out for 2 reasons. One, we should all be shocked that I somehow was actually correct in this. But B, again, understand that Albert's going through a hard time, because the fact that if we had differing opinions on 100 things, Albert's got me 99 times. That was the one time I just blind squirrel moment. I was like, I don't know, maybe they go Russ. Yeah, I guess I will say this though with the Steelers. I feel the same, no matter who the quarterback is, it's a guy.
Yeah.
You know? It's kind of like if they brought in Ryan Tannehill and split him at quarterback. I'd be, yep, it's the same guy.
He's still on the streets, Ryan Tannehill.
Yeah, he is on the street. It's kind of like when what is it, that meme where it's like these two pictures are the same thing.
Yeah, from The Office.
Yeah. Yep. That's pretty much where I'm at with the Steelers. So I don't know that it makes a whole lot of difference, which is also kind of why make the move. But maybe they think they can get a little more out of him. I don't know. It doesn't inspire me either way.
Do you buy into the conspiracy that this is the wide receiver room to go into Mike Tomlin being like, hey, let's make a change here? Because I think I saw some I don't know if it was credible tweets, but I did see some people being like, oh, this seems like the wide receivers were wanting to make a change here for a different quarterback.
I don't know. I don't think Tomlin would care. I think Mike Tomlin would be, get out of my office.
Right.
So no, I don't. I think they just looked at their passing output and were like, we need to get more. That'd be my guess, but I don't know that they're going to get it.
Yeah, I don't know if that's the guy that's going to get it. I know I saw some people talking about the run game dipping up. Russell Wilson's been fairly mobile. Last year he ran the ball, I think, fairly well. But again, as you mentioned, they're the same, but older. Russell Wilson's just an older version of Justin Fields, kind of, which is kind of crazy to think about. But anyhow, Chiefs Super Bowl rematch with the Niners, coming off of a bye week. Some pretty interesting numbers just from a lot of different areas, Matt. And we were kind of talking about this pre-show. Patrick Mahomes is not an underdog very often in his career. Chiefs are an underdog in this game by multiple sports books. I'll be interested to see how that line does swing, rather with the injury reports coming out. Mike Dana didn't practice on Wednesday. We're recording this before the Chiefs practice on Thursday, and before the Niners obviously practice on Thursday as well, because we are in the Central Time Zone. They are in the Pacific Time Zone. And waiting for these injury reports, Matt, that's one thing, too, about the Chiefs playing all these West Coast teams. You play the Chargers twice a year. You play Vegas twice a year. So you got to wait for those injury reports to come out. But it's Friday, and I'm trying to export a video, and it's 5:30. And I'm like, come on.
Yeah.
Let's get these released.
These West Coast teams all do the decent thing of practice at 5 a.m.
They should, yeah.
Yeah, so you wake up and be, hey, look at that. All right, we're all set. It's like when I do my training camp tour, and some of these teams practice at 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
That's wild to me.
Yeah. Hey, guys, how about waking up and stuff and getting out there at 9 o'clock in the morning? Meanwhile, the Chiefs are 8:15. It's 100 degrees. We're going 3 hours long drill. Let's go. I mean, I really have come to the point, I genuinely feel like that's part of the reason they're as good as they are.
Probably.
So these teams, I'm telling you, man, you go to some of these camps, and these guys are just stretching for an hour. And then it's okay, we're going to do some individual drills. And then it's oh, okay, well, now it's noon. Let's get a couple team drills in and call it a day. And you go to Chiefs camp, and guys are sprinting down the hill and straight into team drills, goal line, pads. And you're okay. I mean, it's so different. But yes, the West Coast injury reports are holding everybody up.
They are. I do agree that they should go to the East Coast elite time. They should be beholden to that time zone as well. Make the country one time zone. Maybe that's what they should do. That's an awful idea. That's an awful idea, actually. But I ran and I crunched the numbers.
2:30 on the West Coast. All right, guys, enjoy the morning.
BJ Kissel and I actually had that conversation. He's like, why do time zones exist? I was like, for light. That is why they exist. He's like, everyone should just be in the same time zone. I was like, that would be really cool. I agree. Because I have Auburn, Alabama on our podcast because Mizzou plays Auburn. I was trying to figure out, is Auburn in Central Time Zone? It's Alabama's still in the Central Time Zone? They are. And then that's how the conversation sparked there. Just we need to have different time zones.
But Indianapolis is not.
Yeah. And that's wild.
So when I go from Mobile to Indy, it's chaos.
Yeah.
Because like my wife's like, oh, yeah, call me at 7. I'm like, yeah, no problem, babe. And then I call her and she's like, yeah, you're an hour behind. I'm like, oh, son of a bitch. I forgot. I mean, Indianapolis is like an hour over the timeline. And it just screws everything up. Thank God for phones just auto-adjusting. Or I would never remember that in a million years. And I'd be, yeah, it's Indianapolis. Whatever. We're central. Like, I would never think about the fact it's East time.
I had a buddy of mine who like lived in, I can't remember how it worked. He like lived in Eastern time zone, but worked in Central time zone. And so like he had to cross the time zone border to go into his work. And that just seems like an absolute nightmare.
So quick tangent on this.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'll tell you what's bullshit. Mountain time. That's bullshit.
Interesting. I think it's in the elite time zone, truthfully.
Oh, no. Like, look. We can eliminate the mountain time zone. We can eliminate it. Okay? And I'll tell you what. Give everybody in the mountain time zone, give them a vote. You want Central or Western? What do you want? You want Central or Pacific time zone? This nonsense. And then Arizona's like, no, we don't do setting the clocks back. And hey, get on board with the rest of the country. Okay? You'd be leaving it up to Arizona about this. It's screwing everything up for everybody. Like, you get in line. You toe the line. I don't want to hear about, well, we don't want to do that. Hey, there's a lot of things that nobody wants to do. And everybody does. Like, I don't want to do the dishes every day. But you know what? Get up there like an adult and handle it. Now, that being said, the mountain time zone, that is an unneeded time zone. Stop it. That's Colorado trying to be important. All right? Like, you learn your place, Colorado. You pick. You want to be Central, you want to be Pacific. I think Pacific probably fits you better, but I don't really give a damn. You vote. But I'm sick and tired of having to accommodate like 4 sports teams, or whatever the hell it is, 6 sports teams, because, we got to have our own time zone. That's like friggin' Ohio having its own time zone between New York and Chicago. And being like, well, we have the Midwest time zone. You take that time zone, you go to hell. 3 time zones more than enough in this country.
Look, I think that mountain time is actually the elite time for sports watching. I think mountain time is the elite sports watching time because you then have games at 11, you would have them at 2:30, and then you would have the night games at like 6 something, so then you got plenty of time afterwards. I also think Pacific time, worst time to watch sports. It is the worst time. Okay. It is the worst time. Eastern time is close. Like, I think it's probably Eastern time is up there because stuff gets later, but like, I remember when we were in Vegas and we did the live watch party from the Blue Wire Studios over there at the Wynn Casino. We had to watch the obviously the games of the championship games, the Bengals and the Chiefs. I think before that was Eagles and Niners. That was when Brock Purdy got hurt, and then they just like didn't have a quarterback. Like, that was that year. That game was on at noon in Vegas, and the Chiefs game came on at like 3:30, even though it was like a night game. And it was supposed to, because they do like the 3:30 kickoff, and then they do the night kickoff for the championship games. That was noon and 3:30 out in Vegas. So like once the game got done, it was just like, oh, we have a whole night left. That's crazy. But like having to get off of work and immediately like have a game on, like being done at 5, that would be so crazy.
No, I'm completely out on Pacific time for sports. And I've heard people argue this the other way. Like, no, it's great. You wake up at 10 o'clock. Bro, I need a little bit of time when I wake up.
Yeah.
Okay. And as someone who grew up on the East Coast, the great thing about the East Coast time zone is like, if you don't mind staying awake, it's great because that's your night. Because they don't watch the games. I will say that the Central time zone, I'm a fan. Because you get the games at noon. Yeah. You get the late games, 7:20, 7:15. Okay, cool. The Mountain time zone. It's not that I have a problem with the actual time of the games itself. It's the idea
of the Mountain time zone.
The Mountain time. It's just such bullshit. Like, come on. Somebody got really sanctimonious about it, like way back when. It was like, no, we need our own time zone. I'm looking it up right now because I want to know where this stupid, the map of it. Where does this stupid thing stretch to? So let me see here. So we got.
It's not very big, I don't think.
This one is a tragedy of a time zone. Like, so it's like Arizona, kind of, because Arizona goes to the beat of its own bullshit drum.
Yep.
And it's like, it's Colorado, it's Utah, it's Wyoming and Montana. Wyoming and Montana don't even count because they're not real states or a field.
There's 14 people there, yeah.
Yes, right. So, like, who would even notice? If we change the time zone in those two states, who the hell is going to complain, right? I mean, it's basically Colorado, Utah, part of Idaho. Half of Idaho is Pacific. This is what I mean with this. What are we doing? This is ridiculous. Stop it with this. Like, there's no need for this time. All right, we'll move on. I know nobody gives a damn. Okay, but you know what? We're coming off a bye week, and you people are going to be understanding of my play here.
That's true, and it leads into the point of the Chiefs are playing on the West Coast. That means it's a 3:25 game. Also, it makes sense why this game is
25 Mountain Time, whatever the hell it is.
It makes sense why this game is nationally televised because the other games going up against it are Raiders at Rams and Panthers at Commanders. So, yeah, that makes sense why Fox is nationally televising this one. CBS does have the other two rights to the games, by the way. But let's talk about the Chiefs off of a bye because I think there's a few stats. I had gone through it. I had done Mahomes' career splits versus when he is an underdog.
Yep. And
then KC Sports Network had tweeted out games immediately following a bye. Patrick Mahomes, like his stats there too. Start there. And Patrick Mahomes in games immediately following a bye, including the postseason. So this is like after like they get a 1 seed or a 2 seed, I guess, back in the day. But 3,745 yards, 25 touchdowns to 9 interceptions, 12-2 record. Pretty damn good off of a rest advantage there for Patrick Mahomes. Now going into the underdog side of things, Patrick Mahomes, Matt, we talked about this. This is nuts. He's only been an underdog 13 times in his career. Like, that is absurd. The dude's played over like almost 120 career games, I believe. I think he's pretty close to there, 119, 118, something like that. He's pretty damn close to 120, but only 13 of them, Vegas has said, you're probably not going to win this game. And that's crazy to think about. In those 13 games, he's 10-3 with a 70.8% completion percentage, 3,922 passing yards, averaging about, just over 300 yards a game. 38 touchdowns to 11 interceptions. 6 of those games came during the 22 and 23 seasons. And in 2021, the Chiefs were favored in every single football game that they played. Just an absurd run for the Chiefs with Patrick Mahomes in terms of off of a bye with kind of a rest advantage and also just as an underdog. You just don't bet against Patrick Mahomes is what it seems like.
Yeah, he's pretty good. He's a pretty good player in general. He's really good as an underdog. Look, 11-1-1 against the spread as an underdog is insane.
That is nuts, yeah.
Like, that is a wild, and 10-3 straight up. Like, if we went and looked at every quarterback in the league, their last 13 starts as a favorite, they're probably not 10-3 straight up. Okay?
Right.
As an underdog, and you also got to factor this part of it. This is what really makes that number insane. They've been great his entire career. So when they're an underdog, they're playing like the other best team in the sport and usually on the like, has he ever been an underdog? I think maybe once or twice at Arrowhead, right? Like, he's never, I think last year against Buffalo he was.
One time. And is that game against Buffalo?
Okay.
It looks like it is that game.
Games are all on the road or neutral sites of the Super Bowl, and he's 11-1-1 against the spread and 10-3 straight up, which means on the road as an underdog or a neutral site, he is 10-2 straight up. Good luck to San Francisco this weekend.
Yeah. Let's go through those games, Matt. Let's go through the games because it is only 13 games, so we can kind of easily go through the games and talk about which ones Patrick Mahomes has been an underdog in. He was, an underdog in the first game he played, right? Tyreek Hill didn't play. I don't think Travis Kelce played in that game. Patrick Mahomes went 22 for 35, 284 yards, and an interception. That was against Denver. He came back into that game to win that game, to lead a game-winning drive, to win that game. The next year was in 2018, first game of the year. They were underdogs at LA. They won 38-28. The next game too against Pittsburgh, a pretty decent Pittsburgh team, if I can remember correctly. Like, I think that Pittsburgh team wasn't bad.
Yeah, I believe they were a playoff team. I have to go back and look, but I believe they made it.
Yeah, they won 42-37, 23 for 28, 326 yards, 6 touchdowns in that game against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Not bad at all. So then Vegas is like, okay, this kid's kind of good. Like, we got to kind of adjust to this kid. He might be pretty good. They go on the road to New England in week 6. They do lose this game 43-40. But he does have a good day. 4 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, 23 of 36, 352 yards. That's I think the only game that he did not cover. I'm going to go back and check that. But if you're looking at this, the first time he loses is against Tom Brady's New England Patriots on the road.
Yeah, and they scored 40 points. Okay, it wasn't like Mahomes went out there and played like crap. They had 40 points in that game. And it took Gostkowski kicking a field goal on the last play of the game for the Pats to win.
Insane.
It took Bob Sutton being involved. That's what it took.
Oh, okay, they did cover that game. It was 3.5 in terms of what it was for the Chiefs. It looks like, they pushed against the Rams because the Rams is the next one. Again, where we talk about they put up 51 points in this game against the Rams, which, weird circumstances in this one. 71.7% completion percentage, 478 yards, 6 touchdowns, 3 picks for Patrick Mahomes. They put up 51 points, lose 54 to 51. That is a push because I think the line was at 3. So yeah, that was a push there for that. But in 2018, that was it. Those were the only 4 games. As a rookie quarterback, he was a dog in 4 games again, which is just speaks to how crazy Vegas respects him.
Yeah. No, I mean it's when you really stop and think about it. We were talking before the show. I mean, they've had years where they haven't been underdogs.
Yeah,
multiple seasons where they just there's never an underdog. And I got to tell you, I was surprised they're an underdog in San Francisco this week. I always have a little game in my own head. I usually get an email from an odds maker. I go, here are the lines. And before I open it, I'm like, all right, let's see if I can guess it.
Yeah.
I thought the Chiefs would be favored by 1.5. I mean, I'm not even that, forget that the Niners are 3-3. Because, the Niners are super talented, and we all understand that. The Chiefs are off a bye. And Mahomes has owned them in his career. He's 4-0, all against Shanahan. It's not like they were some BS game time. He averages 363 yards a game against them. It is a murder scene offensively whenever they play the Niners. Okay.
Yep.
And so it's I don't know. They don't have Greenlaw. They don't have Hufanga. They don't obviously on offense have McCaffrey. Now the Chiefs, of course, are missing some guys. So there's no hiding that. But if you had to bet your life on this game, you're picking the 49ers to win this game. I don't care where the game is. I don't know. And to be clear, to be fair, I think this is the toughest game on their schedule.
Yeah,
I do. So I'm not look, the Niners are a really good football team. It is not some shameful thing that the Chiefs are an underdog here, but I'm going to say I see it. I think the line's wrong. I think they should be favored in this football game. I think they're better than the 49ers. I think we've hit a point now with the Chiefs where they win so much that it's boring. And it's they're winning, but Mahomes hasn't played great and Rice isn't there. And I hear that. But all they ever do is win. They haven't lost a game since Christmas.
Nuts.
That's impossible. So I get it. I get the line, but I disagree with it.
I don't know how much. So I'm more familiar with odds making for college football, right? Because that's where I kind of butter my bread is college football. And you usually do play a home field advantage. I don't know how much home field advantage plays into NFL lines. I don't know.
It used to be if you're a home team, you automatically got 3 points.
Yeah.
That's kind of changed in recent years.
Right.
I think now it's more 2. But yes, I mean, look, Vegas is saying that on a neutral field, the Chiefs are better.
Correct.
And my guess is if the Chiefs were at home in this game, they'd probably be favored by 3.5, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I get it. But I just think in the end, if you're the betting markets have spoken, the line has not moved much. So Vegas set a line that is working for it. I just think the Chiefs in this game, their history says they are going to play well in this game.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. I believe I got this money line for Chiefs at plus 102, so it's plus get your money back plus a little bit more, plus 20 cents. And I was able to snag that, and I was like, yeah, anytime I can get plus money on the Kansas City Chiefs, I'm gonna take that. Like, that is feels like free money. You mentioned the fact that they hadn't lost since Christmas. Is when I was doing this like research of like Patrick Mahomes against the spread, or no, not against the spread, but just as an underdog. And I was looking at like the game logs, and I was like, wait a second, like this team hasn't lost since they played the Raiders on Christmas Day in a game that they essentially self-destructed. And I remember a lot of us were like, man, this team going to make the playoffs? Like, this team, luckily they played a bad division, but like, they was like, this team might be not very good. And then they won the Super Bowl.
Bro, I'll be the first one. After that game, I was like, they're not going to win a playoff game.
Yeah.
You can't do anything. Yeah. I don't think people truly remember nationally. I mean, Chiefs fans remember, but like nationally, what a tire fire that game was. Like, they gave up defensive scores on back-to-back offensive plays.
Yes.
And somehow that wasn't, in my opinion, the worst part of that game, which was their complete inability to know how to line up correctly. If you go back and look at that game, and don't do it, but if you did, there are 30 plays where they're not lined up before there's 5 seconds on the play clock. Like, they have no idea where to stand. They don't know what they're doing. And that team, 6 weeks later, bulldozed through maybe the toughest road ever to a Super Bowl and won it. I will see a lot of Super Bowl champions, God willing, in my lifetime. I don't know that I'll ever see one that played that poorly most of the year and then was just like, okay, then fine, and then just beat everybody who was any good all the way to the Super Bowl.
Going back to the research here on the old legal pad, right? Yeah. The Chiefs in 2023 were favored every game of the regular season. Kind of impressive. And you mentioned the postseason run that they went on where they had to go to Buffalo. They had to go to Baltimore, and then they played San Francisco, which is arguably maybe one of the toughest tests. I mean, you hosted Miami, so like Miami, yeah, that gets it. But they have 4 postseason games. 3 of them they were underdogs in. They straight up won all 3 of them. Again, that kind of goes into the fact that just don't bet against Patrick Mahomes. That's kind of what it comes down to. He's good. Andy Reid is good. It's off of a bye. There's a lot of stuff pointing the Chiefs' direction. It seems like this is an empty the clip game again, another NFC team. But man, before we take a break, like this kind of seems like this game might be bigger for the Niners because they haven't beaten the Chiefs in 10 plus odd years. Like this game might be bigger for them than it is for the Chiefs. And if the Chiefs lose, it's like, oh well.
It's definitely much bigger for the 49ers for a lot of reasons. One is, the Niners. I mean, holy hell, you got to just finally beat them at some point.
Right.
Yeah. Because what if you see them again in the Super Bowl? Can you imagine if the Chiefs whip them all over the field in this game? And then they see you in the Super Bowl. If you're the Chiefs, you're like, yeah, that's nice.
Yeah.
Like, start throwing the confetti because we're not going to lose. No, man, I think, but it's much bigger. The Niners are 3-3. Like, they're not playing well. They need to get a win. The Chiefs will lose this game. All right, cool.
5-1.
Raiders on deck.
Losing to an NFC team too, which is like
on the road. Yeah,
it doesn't
it's like the least consequential game they'll play all year long in terms of like tiebreakers in the division.
Right.
So if you're the Chiefs, you're like, would love to win. I will say this: if they win this game, you're going to start hearing people talk about undefeated stuff. Right or wrong, you're going to start hearing it because their next 3 games are the Raiders.
Yep.
Tampa at home on a Monday night, not easy, but it's at home. Like they'll be favored, they should win, and then Denver at home. There's a real world. They're 9-0 walking into Buffalo. And then you're really going to have the conversation. Because then people are going to be, man, after Buffalo, you ready for this? Here's the foursome after Buffalo. Carolina, Chargers at home on a Sunday night, Raiders on Black Friday, and the Browns. Like, you're going to have people, if they win this game, there's a real shot to get the 9-0. And if they get the 9-0, you're going to have people in absolute heart attack mode with them going to Buffalo. Like, oh my God, if they win this game, like, Houston might be the only hope left.
I mean, if they beat Houston, do they sit their starters for Christmas?
If they're undefeated?
If they're undefeated, yeah.
Oh no, I think they would.
Do you go for it?
The way that team is wired, I think it's kind of like those Pats teams.
Yeah.
Brady would have fought Belichick in a steel cage match to get out there. I think if they ever somehow beat Houston, they were 15-0. They had the Steelers and the Broncos left. No, man, I think they'd be like, we are going for it. What do you think they'd sit?
I don't know. And that's a part of the thing that I wrestle with this, because like there's a very real shot that they could have the number 1 seed even too, like locked up with like 2 weeks left, right? Like there's a real shot that could happen.
Could happen.
Do they sit their starters for 2 weeks? Probably not. Like I don't think that would happen, like a rest versus rust situation, right? And we always see Andy Reid, he'll play starters in the preseason. Like, so he's not afraid to play his starters. You got to play the football game to be good at football, right? Like, it's kind of how it works.
That's how it works.
So I don't think that would happen, right? Like, I don't anticipate that to happen. Could it happen? Because this team has played the equivalent of an extra, like, 2 seasons in the past, like, 5 years with the playoff games and everything like that. I'm being hyperbolic. It's probably just 1 season.
One season, but still, like, yeah.
That's a lot of extra games on the body. Maybe getting a couple of games off do good for him. Probably for Travis Kelce. Yeah, probably.
Yeah. I think what they would do, honestly, and I think they would try to beat the piss out of Pittsburgh and Denver in the first half of the game.
I think it's yeah.
Yeah, I think they would be like, we're going to play the first half of this game like it's the second half of a Super Bowl and see what we can do. But no, man, look, and for the record, I do not think they're going to go undefeated. Okay, I mean, there's a reason only one team in the history of football. That being said, if they beat the Niners, you're going to start to hear that conversation, because then it's going to be, okay, well, you get the Raiders you ought to kill. And then the Bucs are a good team, but the Chiefs will win that game at home. And then you have Denver at home. And if you win those 3 games, you're more than halfway through the year and you're undefeated, and you have 1 game left that you're like, oh, they might be a dog in it. Maybe against Buffalo. I don't even know if they would be. Maybe. And you're looking at that going, man, they still play the Raiders, and they play the Broncos and the Browns and the Panthers and the Chargers at home on a Sunday night in December. Like, you'd start looking at that thing and being like, it's not crazy. It's not possible. That said, listen, 5-0. They're not 17 now. They don't want to go. But they're off to a great start.
Yeah, that's a good start. They take that good start on the road against the San Francisco 49ers. Super Bowl rematch. Super excited for it. But there's a lot of other good matchups coming on in the NFL. We'll talk about that after the break. We got Benny's picks coming up after the break as well. So let's go ahead. Let's hit that break, and we'll be back right after this.
Shop Chiefs tickets and more with no fees. Plus, save big with code KCSN at ticketsforless.com, the official ticket provider of KC Sports Network.
You know when you discover a new binge-worthy show or a song that you bump on repeat and you have to share it with your friends so they can experience just how awesome it is? That's kind of what it feels like when you discover Mint Mobile offers premium wireless for $15 a month when you purchase a 3-month plan. That's such an awesome deal, there's no way you can keep it to yourself. Friends don't let friends overpay for wireless. Say bye-bye to your overpriced wireless plan and switch to Mint Mobile. Mint Mobile is here to rescue you and your squad with premium wireless plans starting at $15 a month. All plans come with high-speed data and unlimited talk and text delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. Use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan and bring your phone number along with all of your existing contacts. Ditch overpriced wireless with Mint Mobile's deal and get 3 months of premium wireless service for $15 a month. To get this new customer offer and your new 3-month premium wireless plan for just $15 a month, go to mintmobile.com/KCSNTFS. That's mintmobile.com/KCSNTFS. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/KCSNTFS. $45 upfront payment required, equivalent to $15 a month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes on unlimited plan. Additional taxes, fees, and restrictions apply. See Mint Mobile for details. Welcome back to That Football Show. We got Benny with us now as we get to Benny's picks presented by Underdog. Benny, how you doing, my man?
What's happening, fellas? Good to be back, get week 7 up and going. And I believe we had a 2-1 week last week. Got a little close, a little dicey. But off we go again to have a little bit of fun with Underdog.
Love the folks at Underdog. Good stuff there. look, we're rolling. I think the week before we had a 2-1 week before that too. So we are rocking and rolling here. So if you're following Benny's picks here with Underdog, you can go use that promo code KCSN at sign up. You can download the app, link in the description. We make it easy for you to download the app here. Use that code KCSN for sign up. Let's go ahead and dive into the picks here. Benny, you sent me over 3 picks for a card this week, league wide. What are we looking at here?
All right, let's start at the quarterback spot. Team coming off a bye in the Los Angeles Rams and Matthew Stafford. Some interesting trade rumors swirling around Matthew Stafford this week, including some reports that the New York Giants might be interested in Matthew Stafford. And if I'm Mr. Stafford, I don't think I want to go anywhere. So now's an opportunity at home off the bye to take on the now tanking Las Vegas Raiders. It's a good matchup for Stafford. Raiders have a pretty rough pass defense, especially over the last few weeks where they've gotten absolutely torched in the secondary. Before that, they were holding their own, but it seems like the levee is finally broken over in Las Vegas. Stafford been a little bit better at home than on the road this year. And I think most importantly, Cooper Kupp set to return to the lineup, and the numbers with Coop on field versus off the field for Stafford, there's a wide discrepancy there, and rightfully so. It's going to open up so many different elements of the offense. You'll see a little bit more play action. Teams have been able to run on the Raiders this year as well, but just so Stafford has some more threats. On the outside, it's going to open things up. You saw Jordan Whittington play really well the last few weeks. Still an emergence to Marcus Robinson over there. But Kupp makes everything go. And then at some point, when they get Nakua and Kupp together, it's a very formidable offense. And I think 229.5 just is a little bit too low in an ideal matchup for Stafford to be able to take some shots down the field. So go ahead and give me a higher for 225.5 for Matthew Stafford this week at home against the Raiders.
Yeah, the Raiders stink.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm on board. They just traded away Devontae Adams to basically just signal the fact they know they're cooked. The Rams, like if there's any hope of making the playoffs, got to win this game. I'm with you. Look, I would not be surprised if Stafford goes 300 yards in this game. The Raiders seem pretty well done at this point.
I agree. You mentioned, Benny, the trade rumors from New York to Los Angeles for Matt Stafford. His wide receiver core beaten up now is probably better than the wide receiver core that is currently in, with obviously Malik Neighbors being out with a concussion in New York. Right? He might want to play with those guys. It's kind of interesting conversation to have there in LA for Matt Stafford.
Yeah, and honestly, I give Brian Dable and some of those other receivers in New York a bit of credit. Like we've seen, Darius Slade in the last couple of weeks play well. Wan'Dale Robinson in the slot's actually been seeing a ton of targets.
But a merchant man.
But I mean, we're also talking about you're going from a place where he feels really comfortable with the head coach and play caller. I mean, Dable's not an idiot. There could be plenty worse situations, but if I'm Stafford, like you're in a good spot. You got your Super Bowl. To go to a team like the New York Giants right now does not seem very ideal. But maybe that's just me.
You talk about one team that's starting to sell in the Las Vegas Raiders as they trade. Another team that might be wanting to sell, Tennessee. Who do you got coming up here for the second pick on your card?
Well, even if they do start to sell, and I'll be curious whether, DeAndre Hopkins or even Calvin Ridley might be on the move. Ridley obviously signing that new deal would be a little bit more difficult in the offseason. But one guy that's been pretty impressive this year has been Tony Pollard. Pollard's been doing a good job both on the ground and also through the air this year. He's caught 3 receptions in 4 out of 5 games this season, has yet to score through the air, but good thing he takes on the Buffalo Bills defense, with Tennessee being a 9-point underdog in this matchup, which means there's going to be plenty of passing volume available for Pollard, who has scored touchdowns in back-to-back games, has been very efficient on the ground as well. So you take a back who has been very elusive as a receiver over the last several years in Dallas, now doing a nice job in Tennessee. And one thing too for the Titans, and this is something that was expected with Bill Callahan as their offensive coordinator, is that those guys up front were going to get coached up and become a much better blocking team. Now, do you trust Will Levis to get it done? Probably not, but at least he can take the dump off and the check off to Tony Pollard against a team that just allows a ton of pass catching opportunities. And there might be an opportunity for either a regular touchdown or a garbage time touchdown. Pollard just is a viable option. And so I like for him to get into the end zone at any point. Plus, remember, if you do an anytime touchdown over at underdog and go higher than 0.5 rushing or receiving touchdowns, that's going to help that boost go up as well. That's going to get a nice little number for you. So I see him going higher than the 0.5 rushing or receiving touchdowns on the road at Buffalo, where he's going to get plenty of pass opportunities and have a chance to take one in.
Well, if anybody's going to score a touchdown for the Titans, it's probably him, based on the fact that Will Levis can't throw the football more than like 5 yards of the clip without getting intercepted. So yeah, I'm probably with you. I mean, but the Titans, that feels like a game they'll lose like 37-7. So let's hope that he gets to 7.
Let's hope it. I like that. Indeed. Let's get to the last one here. Another quarterback on the list here as we are going back to the NFC.
Yeah. Quarterback play for Monday night, Baker Mayfield. A couple of props I actually like for him over on underdog. I like him to throw for to go higher than 258.5 passing yards against the Ravens. Kind of similar thought process to why we liked Jaden Daniels on his passing attempts last week. That number not up right now over at underdog, but expected to be up shortly. I think it might be because Mayfield currently on the injury report, but certainly do expect him to play. Remember, this is a Ravens team that's number 1 in the NFL right now against the run. And as we talked about last week, as my 3.5-year-old who's home from school wants to weigh in and give his hot takes for today, so I'll make this quick. I'm talking about the Ravens and I'm talking about underdog fantasy. You got to wait. It's going to be an advantageous matchup for Mayfield to throw the ball downfield. Remember, Ravens secondary has gotten cooked consistently throughout the course of the year. So when that passing attempts number comes out as well, that's going to be advantageous. Baker Mayfield leading the NFL right now in touchdowns thrown. So he's had a terrific season through the air, and I expect this to be a pretty high scoring affair in Baltimore. So 258.5, pretty reasonable number for Baker to be able to clear as long as he's healthy.
I love that because the one thing about the Ravens, they've been very good this year. They cannot defend the pass at all. Teams are throwing the ball all over Baltimore. So I like that pick. I'm not the gambler. Benny, you handle that business for us. I will tell you, I don't even know what the line is for Mahomes in this game against the Niners for the over, or for the higher. Excuse me, for the higher. Yeah, I'm taking Mahomes. Have you looked at his numbers career-wise against the Niners, against Shanahan? Yeah. It's like 360 some odd yards a game.
Yeah.
And last year, not last year, 2022, when they went to San Francisco and played there, or Santa Clara as it may be, he had one of the best games of his entire career. And he did it with not a great group of weapons. It wasn't like he went in there with Tyreek Hill. I mean, I was with Juju and MVS and Hardman. And I mean, so I could see Mahomes having a very big day in the air in this game, especially with Hufanga out.
Yeah. And first time this year, too, that the Chiefs are not a favorite going into the matchup for the season. And that's still with an undefeated team coming off of a bye. And we know the historical numbers on Andy Reid. They haven't been a great covering team coming off the bye, but we certainly know the win-loss record coming off of it as well. So certainly hard to argue with that for him.
Mahomes is 11-1-1 against the spread as an underdog, and he's heading 3 straight up.
Correct.
Yeah.
So I feel like some trends I feel like are kind of like out of thin air. That feels like a pretty strong trend. Maybe don't bet against him when he's getting points. I mean, that seems to be the general rule of thumb. I'd have to look. I can't even remember the game that he didn't cover. I'd have to go back and look at it. But yeah, he's pretty dominant.
They lost to the Patriots in 2019, I want to say, on the road right after he got hurt.
That sounds right. As a dog.
Maybe it was early.
The one loss was to Brady and the Patriots. Belichick and the Patriots.
I just went through all the game logs and did it. Let me tell you, actually, I've probably got it pulled up on the
They
other sheet.
beat them in 2019. They lost her in 2018.
It might have been 2018.
Okay.
I got it.
Which was like 6 games into his career. So which basically, and I would imagine, so he's probably something like 10-0 since then as an underdog, if that's the case. But yeah, this feels like the kind of game with them. They always screw around against shitty teams, and they don't cover, and they leave themselves exposed, and they've got this is the classic game with this team. They will come out and hang 40 on the Niners because that's what they will be prepared for this. They will be ready for this game. They're going to take it personally that they're underdogs. Like, that is, if there's ever a spot with this team where they're like, okay, watch this, I feel like this is the game. It's just kind of historically speaking, this is usually, it's like a couple years ago when they went to Tampa and they played the Bucs on Sunday night and everybody was like, I don't know how they score. And they ran for like 200 yards in the game and just trucked them all night for 41 points. Like, feels like it's that kind of a game.
Yeah, it is. It's going to be really interesting. You can get in on the action at Underdog. They got all kinds of stuff gearing up here, especially with the NBA season coming up. Boostober continues, so they got NBA Boost now coming off with NBA Tip-Off. It coming up in about less than a week now. The NBA Tip-Off is they're doing NBA Pick'em entry from 10/19 through 10/27 will be boosted, so you can go check that out on Boostober over at Underdog Fantasy. You can sign up with that code. Again, KCSN will give you a free pick plus a first-time deposit of up to $1,000 in bonus cash. A free pick this week as I pull up the Underdog calendar here. They're so nice. They send us these nice calendars we can look at of what these free picks are going to be. They've got them all planned out. If you're making your pick today on Thursday the 17th, you can get Bo Nix as your free pick. But if you're going on the weekend, maybe you want to wait a day, maybe you want to wait till Friday to make that free pick. Aaron Rodgers. Maybe that's a pretty good one with the new guy in town that he's got there. You can get those two guys as your free pick. Benny, appreciate you hanging out with us and giving us your picks.
Always a pleasure, boys. And by the way, how about the magic of Devontae Adams? Was his ankle all of a sudden it's healed now that he's in New York?
Yeah.
Praise the spirits that be. You know what miracle of health all of a sudden being delivered.
Truly the power of modern medicine.
Oh my God!
Which I guess they don't have in Las Vegas.
No.
Years behind. It's too expensive.
Thank you, Benny.
All right, see you, fellas.
All right, Matt. I think it's time.
All right.
Let me cue up the taps here. I think it's time to set. Now it's not. We don't have a huge week this week. Last week was a big week. A lot of teams were set.
It was a mass incident apparently in the NFL last week with all the teams we laid to rest.
It was a lot. This week we only got one team. Let's go ahead and lay them to rest.
Well, Tucker's a nice touch by you wearing teal in honor of this team.
Yep.
The Jacksonville Jaguars being laid to rest on soil that is not America's. 1-5, destroyed by the Bears, not looking like a football team. Doug Peterson talking about culture. Doug Peterson's the head coach of the team. Not a great sign. Jacksonville at 1-5, according to the odds laid out by The Athletic, have a 6% chance of making the playoffs. Here on KCSN, it'd be 0% chance of making the playoffs. We are saying goodbye to Trevor Lawrence, Doug Peterson, and the Jacksonville Jaguars as they go 6 feet under in England.
%6 high. That is really high.
Yeah, it's higher than it should be.
Yeah, that surprised me. That was the one surprising thing that came out of Jacksonville. Probably is that they still have a 6% chance, but they are in a pretty bad division.
So, for the record, the team that we have not laid to rest is the best odds now per The Athletic and the New York Times. The Saints at 10%, and I'm here to tell everybody right now,
it's coming.
There's going to be a funeral if they lose to Denver. Okay, so just accept that in your life. And after them, kind of surprisingly, the Seahawks.
Interesting.
20%. In case anyone's wondering, The Chiefs are at 99% to make the playoffs. The Chiefs are at 17% to win the Super Bowl, which would be better odds than 6, 7, 8, better odds than 10 teams to make the playoffs. Okay? That's where the Chiefs are. That's insane. And we were talking about this earlier before the break. Would you like to guess what their odds are to win the division and to have a first-round bye? Obviously, two different numbers.
Yeah. Which one's higher? Win the division, obviously?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Win the division, I'm going to guess 93.
86.
Number 1 seed, 72.
55.
Oh, okay.
The next highest odds in the AFC are the
Texans. Yeah.
18%. And the Bills at 11%. Nobody else is above 8.
Should we have a conversation about the Texans? Because I've been thinking about this team a lot. Like, I think they're a good football team. As a Chiefs fan, they don't worry me at all. I don't know why that is. But like, I just feel like maybe this is me being overconfident in the Chiefs defense, but I just feel like Steve Spagnuolo would put CJ Stroud in an absolute blender and just stuff him in a locker is kind of the part of the reason I feel like that.
I think, so my feeling on that game, I think it depends on when the Chiefs play them week 16.
Right.
Do the Chiefs have to win the game? Because if they have to win the game, they're going to show them a bunch of stuff. If they don't have to win that game, they're going to sit in a preseason defense the entire game and not care if they lose.
Yeah.
They're just not going to care. I remember years ago, they played in 2022, they played the Bengals in Cincinnati, and they were up multiple games on them. Like, they didn't have to win the game. And I was infuriated throughout the first half because Spagnuolo never came out of his cover 2 shell. They just sat in it. And then it dawned on me, I was talking to my dad during the game, and he's like, they're not going to change. They're not going to show them anything. They're just going to sit in this. And they did, and they lost. And then they played him in the playoffs, and they absolutely put him in hell for 4 straight quarters. Without Snead, by the way, who got hurt in the first drive of that game.
Right.
I'm of two minds with Houston. On one hand, like, they're really talented.
Yeah.
And I think Stroud is a great quarterback.
I agree.
On the other hand, teams just do not do well when they play the Chiefs typically for the first time. And if that playoff game, if a hypothetical playoff game, if that is the first time that Stroud sees what they're really going to do, it would probably make me think of the 2020 AFC title game when the Chiefs played Buffalo. And I remember watching that game and about midway through the second quarter saying to my dad, I'm like, this game's over. Allen looks horrified. Like, he has no idea what to do with football. I think of that when I think of that game. And I think of Rashad Breeland turning it into a boxing match with Stephon Diggs on the outside, where he was just like, I'll take 3 penalties in the first quarter. I don't care. You're not getting off the line of scrimmage.
Yeah.
And that's the one thing with the Chiefs that I think this actually brings up a good point. I hope it does. We'll see. The Chiefs are uniquely qualified in the playoffs to play teams like Houston for one reason, more than anything else. I mean, there's a lot of reasons. Of course, their experience and their talent level. The Chiefs can get into man coverage and challenge you in a way that I would argue no other team can in the NFL.
Yeah.
There are other teams Denver actually has great corners, but Denver doesn't matter because they're not good.
Right.
But like in terms of playoff team, Buffalo cannot get into man coverage like that. They don't do it. They play zone. That's the way they play. Baltimore plays a ton of zone. Houston doesn't. Lassiter's an interesting rookie, and Stingley's good, but they don't have the corners. They don't have the secondary Chiefs. God knows Cincinnati doesn't. Kansas City can just get into man coverage with McDuffie and Watson and Connor and get on the line and say, I don't give a shit. You're not throwing the ball.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing you're doing about it. And I remember last year, I got asked so many times going into that Super Bowl against the Niners. Well, there's no, the Chiefs lead the league in man coverage, and you really think they're going to play man coverage against this team? I'm like, oh, yeah. Yes. They don't care. They have no fear of it. Like, they will get on the line, and they will just brawl with you to the death for 60 minutes. Like, that's how they play. Most teams in today's NFL, they play zone, they play off-man coverage, they do not want to get beat. The Chiefs have the least fear of any team I can remember in recent history of just being like, it doesn't matter. You're not winning off the line of scrimmage.
Yeah.
tweeting about this here. Jalen Watson is playing like a top 10 corner in football.
Insane. It's insane. It really is.
He's unbelievable. And Connor, who, look, I interviewed Shamari Connor at camp because I thought he'd be a big player for them. I wrote about him for SI. I talked about him nonstop on podcasts because I thought he'd be big for them. He's been even better than I thought he'd be.
Yeah.
I mean, they're to the point now where it doesn't matter who they're against. Like, if they play Dell, Collins, and Diggs, I'm like, that's fine. They'll just play man coverage, and they can do it. And that is such an advantage. You know, like when they play Baltimore, you want to know why teams run forever against Baltimore? Because a lot of teams sit in zone, and they don't want to play man up, and you get these light boxes.
Yep.
The Chiefs will put 8 guys in the box against Baltimore and be like, single high, man coverage, beat us.
Yeah. And
they can't. They can't. That's why Baltimore never beats them. It's the same thing they'll do with Buffalo. Look, Cooper going there is a great trade for the Bills. It is an awesome trade for the Bills. And you know what the Chiefs are going to do? They're going to put McDuffie on Shakir, and they're going to put Watson on Cooper, and they're going to go ahead, Josh, beat us with Matt Collins. Do it. And he can't. Now, like that to me is the biggest advantage they have that nobody talks about, is that they are willing to play that way in a league that plays terrified all the time. They are so willing to just be like, try and throw it. Try and do it. Beat us. I mean, I think to them that it's a challenge that they relish and they succeed with most of the time.
I think what part of it makes this defense so good is how good their safety room is, and like how many like really good safeties that they have where they can do stuff like that, where they do trust a lot of Justin Reed and Brian Cook, and I think Jamar Connor might be listed as a safety, but like he's his own. Jamar Connor's just Jamar Connor, man. He don't have position. They put him wherever he needs to go.
Right.
And like
Stuart Frankel playing deep half.
Right.
We'll get back there.
It is quite incredible too that we have Jaden Hicks, and like Jaden Hicks was like the talk of training camp, and they haven't really played him a whole lot. I do think that might be like some gamesmanship though by like Spagnuolo of like keeping him maybe to the side a little bit, because then all of a sudden it's going to be like, boom, here's Jaden Hicks running downhill right at your face. And like that's kind of what it's going to be like, because I do think that like I just have a lot of confidence in this defense right now, probably more than I ever have in not necessarily Steve Spagnuolo, but just in the Patrick Mahomes era. Just have confidence in the defense of like, okay, the defense is going to hold it down while Patrick Mahomes figures it out, right? Like there are some things that Patrick Mahomes does need to figure out, right? Like in terms of the offense and timing and throwing the ball down the field, trusting his offensive line. There's all that stuff we could talk about, like with all of that. But I trust Patrick Mahomes to figure that out, because guess what? We've seen that before. We've seen what Patrick Mahomes can do. We can know it can be worked out, and we know it can be fixed like that. With like the wide receiver room last year, like it was a lot of things that we hoped to see. This with Patrick Mahomes, like we've seen it happen. He can get back to that level. I'm confident in that. And the defense just holding it down like that they are, like not allowing any running back to rush for more than like 4 yards per carry is insane. Their run defense has been, I don't know if it's the best in the league, but I mean it's pretty damn good.
It is against running backs.
There you go. So it's the best in the league. I didn't want to make that a wild claim without looking up the numbers, but like it's pretty damn good in all facets on the defensive side of the ball, and like I don't think you can complain.
No, they're ridiculous. Also, and you may know this off the top of your head, if you don't, whatever, neither do I. So, somebody puts out I really want to shout him out because I want to give him credit. They put out like the quality of a pass rush. Like the quality, like an individual pass rusher.
Yes, that is Brandon Thorne, I believe. With,
thank you.
Chris Warfare. Yep.
Okay, yeah. Brandon does great work. So,
yes, he does.
I'm going to pull it up real quick because the stat is absolutely insane. Again, it goes to show how dominant the Chiefs are right now. Okay, so he tweets out another metric I track is pressure quality ratio, which doesn't factor in volume as much as quality of high to low quality pressures. I love this metric just to see the most efficient, potent rushers in terms of generating clean one-on-one wins. And then he lists the top 25 guys. The Chiefs have 2 of them in the top 3. Okay? Jones, then Myles Garrett, and then Wharton.
Yeah.
But here's what's bonkers about this, right? So, like, if you look at the pressure quality ratio, and I'm not going to pretend to know every little thing about this, but, like, you have great players on this list, right? So top 25 guys. You have like Aiden Hutchinson, like his pressure quality ratio is like 1.79. And Nick Bosa is like 1.50. Dexter Lawrence was 7 sacks, 1.29. Then you have, so number 3 on the list is Wharton. Number 4 is Malik Collins of the Niners, actually. And Collins didn't practice on Wednesday. We'll see if he plays. his pressure quality ratio is 2.13. Now, from 25 to 4, they all go up like pretty incrementally. It goes from 2.13 to 3.5, which is to Sean Ward. All right. That is a bigger gap. Just making sure I'm doing this right. Yes, that is a bigger gap than 4 through the entire rest of the list. Right. So then you go to Garrett, who's at 3.8, and you're like, cool. Jones is 7.0. Like, he's more than double anybody else in the league. Okay. Yeah. And so Thorne also mentions afterwards that Jones is on a record pace. The highest pressure quality ratios over the last 2 years of charting are both by Myles Garrett, who is at 3.47 and 3.12. No one else has ever broken 3. So Wharton's on a pace to break everybody else other than Garrett. And Jones is like, I'll double it. I mean, it's insane. So Jones has 24 pressures this year. 21 of them are high-quality pressures. That's impossible. Like, that is an impossible number. Okay?
Wow.
That's where you're at with the defense, okay? And then you've got the secondary behind it. Like, right. Bolton's got his things fine, but like you have Bolton and Tranquil and Chenal behind that. And then you got Spags calling the defense. Have fun. Yeah. Good luck. It's crazy. It's crazy how dominant that defense is.
I'm going to be interested to see how George Kittle, like how the Chiefs kind of contain George Kittle because he's now healthy. He's starting to get rocking and rolling. And the Chiefs have had troubles covering running backs and tight ends so far this year. That's how where a lot of the offenses came when teams have success against them is running backs and tight ends. Yeah. Now the running back for the Niners might be Mason or Mason, right? Mason. Because he has an AC shoulder sprain. He's day to day. But then also they have Isaac Grindo, which I liked Isaac Grindo out of Louisville. Like I thought he was a good running back. He had, I think, a 75-yard run, which kind of inflated his rushing numbers, I think, last week. But they don't really have the running backs that like you anticipated to have, right? Like Christian McCaffrey's sideline, he's not going to be playing in this game. So it's going to be George Kittle. Maybe that helps them lock in on George Kittle maybe a little bit more. We'll have to see, but I do think like the way that this Chiefs defense is playing, and I also think Brock Purdy has played very well this year. I think Brock Purdy is kind of erasing a lot of the narrative around him as just like as a leech in terms of like who he has around him. Yeah. Right? I think he's been playing very good. He's been doing a lot of as Matty Lane said on the lab, big boy passing stuff is what he's been doing a lot this year, and I think. That's been I've been impressed with Brock Purdy and how he's played this year. So it's going to be a very, very interesting chess match there between Spagnuolo and Shanahan.
No, I agree. He's been great. By the way, Spagnuolo has game planned as the Chiefs defensive coordinator for George Kittle 3 times.
Yeah.
In 2022, he went for 6 catches, 98 yards, and a touchdown.
Yeah.
The other 2 times, the Super Bowls, 4 catches, 36 yards, 2 catches, 4 yards.
Back with a vengeance.
Yeah, so we'll see. Yeah, not so much. So we will see if Spags gives them the playoff treatment, or if they're like, what the hell?
Let the kids play.
Let's let him go out there and do what he's gonna do. So it'll be interesting to see. I mean, this is the first regular season matchup since 2022 between these two teams. The Chiefs went out there and smoked them that game. That was the game that Mahomes went berserk, and that was also the McCall Hardman game. He had 3 touchdowns.
McCaffrey's first game, too, for the Niners.
Yes, good call. Thank you. So Kittle had 98 yards in that game. Ayuk had 7 catches for 82 yards. I defy you to tell me who the third leading receiver of that team for the Niners was that day. He had 4 catches for 65 yards.
Chris Conley?
No, didn't make it down on the score sheet.
I'll
give you one more guess. If you get it, I will buy you dinner next time I'm out in Kansas City. Any place you want to go.
Juwan Jennings?
Ray McLeod, my friend.
Yep, no shot.
Yeah, no
shot.
Juwan Jennings had 2 for 24, as did McCaffrey. Juszczyk had 3 for 34. Debo went 5 for 42. The Chiefs had 3 receivers with 98 or more yards in the game. Juju for 7 and 124 and a touchdown, and MBS 3 for $111, right in your eye. Boom. Okay. Mahomes threw for 423 on 12.4 yards an attempt. Also, by the way, that was the first time we ever saw Brock Purdy in a game.
That's true. He did come in for Garoppolo, right?
Man went 4-9 with a pick. But yes, came in. That game, the Chiefs racked up 529 yards of offense, despite the fact they took 84 yards in penalties. 4 or 5 in the red zone, 9.1 yards per play.
That's unreal.
We'll see if they have a repeat in it.
We'll see. We will see. The big matchup, obviously, is it is a national televised game, as we mentioned earlier in the show. Matt, any other matchups this week you got your eye on as I kind of peruse the schedule here for...
Monday night's interesting. You got the Bucs and the Ravens in Tampa. And then you have the Chargers at the Cardinals in a game that if you don't have ESPN Plus, you can't see.
Screwed. Yeah.
And I got to tell you, you might be better off. But
cancel your ESPN Plus subscription, actually. If you have it, just go ahead and cancel it. So you don't
call up ESPN, tell them this is a disgrace. And this is not how you want your money spent. That'd be so funny. But it'd be the only time in the history of television somebody's like, excuse me, too much programming.
Right.
I'm just for the schadenfreude of it all. I'm interested in Jets Steelers. Give me Mr. Unlimited against Mr. I can't take an ounce of accountability for anything that goes wrong. Yeah. I'm here for. I love how Rodgers, they lose that game to the Bills, and Rodgers just airs out Mike Williams after. He's like, he ran the wrong route. I had to throw the ball. It's like, hey, Aaron, maybe check it down to Breece Hall, who was wide open for a 40-yard gain. Like, if he ran the wrong route, okay, fine, that's on him. Then don't
throw it, yeah.
What are you doing? God, only Aaron Rodgers. Can you imagine Mahomes doing that? Mahomes would have needed group therapy last year if he did that after every game. Like, I was at the game when that whole thing against Philly happened. I covered that game, Sports Illustrated. And I'm in the presser at that. I'm thinking, I was talking to Nate Taylor and a few other people from the Star, and I'm like, man, if there's ever a moment, then Mahomes is going to come out here and just be, you know what? I'm done with this. He walked out and was like, I got to make a better throw. I was like, it went right through his hands. Like, you could have walked it up there and put it on his hands. He's like, yeah, no, it was a little bit long. I got to make it shorter. Meanwhile, Aaron Rodgers was like, ran the wrong route, and then I just threw a pick. Okay, but it wasn't like he ran like a slant and you thought he was going to run a corner and you threw it right at the linebacker. Like, you knew he ran the wrong route. And you're like, I don't care.
Yeah.
Throwing it anyway. It was a terrible throw. But
not a principle.
Yeah. But Jets, Steelers. But then also on the NFC side of things, we got Detroit, Minnesota, which
should be a good one.
Really good game. And then in interconference, we have a lot of good interconference games. Chiefs, Niners. Mm-hmm. We've got Ravens and Bucs. And Cardinals, Chargers. I don't know if you quite put in that category, but it's interesting. It's interesting from a Chiefs perspective. And then also, don't forget, Houston at Green Bay.
Yeah.
Really good game. This is actually a really good week of games. I shit on the NFL all the time for the Sunday slates because they've destroyed them. But this week they did it. They did us good because they get Broncos Saints out of the way early.
Yep.
So the NFL was like, listen, we hear you and we see you, and it's Spencer Rattler against Bo Nix. I almost there's a small part of me. I want to see the Broncos win this game so they can carry Sean Payton off the field after he beats Spencer Rattler. I kind of want it. But then I also kind of want Spencer Rattler to beat Bo Nix, and then the Saints carry Dennis Allen off the field.
Yeah.
Like it's like a Rudy moment. Like, there it is, Dennis. Nice job, baby. Like,
signature win.
No matter what. Yeah.
Yeah, they do space it out really good with the noon slate having the Texans and Packers, and obviously the Chiefs at Niners being the afternoon slate, and then the evening game being Jets Steelers, with the Monday night game also being pretty interesting as well. Which brings me to our maps segment of the show, right? Looking at the broadcast maps from 506sports.com. Right. All of the broadcast maps here. Looking at it, if you are in Kansas City and you will get the antenna, which I do. I like to watch it on the antenna. I don't like the streaming delay. Houston at Green Bay is what you're going to get on the noon slate, which makes a whole lot of sense. Yep. As I look at this map here, Matt, Tennessee at Buffalo is the other game that a lot of the country has. Obviously, Nashville, they got a big, huge yellow. The Boot Heel of Missouri actually gets that game as well. Buffalo, all the the Northeast has the Buffalo, Tennessee at Buffalo, and then a little patch in Wyoming because of Josh Allen. They get to watch Tennessee at Buffalo instead of Houston at Green Bay.
Well, you know what? I think if you're in Wyoming, you're pretty pissed because you might like it's not like Josh Allen is not from Wyoming. He's from Fireball, California.
Yep.
Okay. I understand he played college ball in Wyoming. Are people that invested still? Maybe. I guess. I mean, it is Wyoming. Like, there's like 12 people there. Maybe it's. By the way, we're getting an email from somebody in Wyoming.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
How dare you?
We have dog walked to that state this episode.
How dare you take a shot at a state that no one's ever been to?
I've driven through it.
You've been through it?
I've driven through it, yeah.
Did you stop?
No.
Okay. I would have had deep concerns.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like driving through Nebraska, right?
Well, I think I was in South Dakota and I dropped down to Denver, and I think that the way I was on like the far side of the state and then dropped down, and you have to go when you drop down to Denver, you got to go through a little bit of Wyoming.
There's a reason I never go to Denver. I actually really like Denver. I've been there before. Yeah. No. I don't know. It's like, would you rather watch the Bills destroy the Titans, or would you? The only thing that the Bills Titans could give us. What if this is the game Josh Allen's like, I've gotten far enough into the season without throwing a pick, and I've decided to just go back to my wild ways. And Will Levis is like, oh, buddy, if you think you're gonna outwild me, guess
another thing coming.
Yeah, here it comes, big boy. I'm a rifle one into quadruple coverage on first and 10. That could be the fascinating part of this game. Like,
yeah,
I think this game's a 30-point game because the Bills, to their credit, usually just destroy bad teams.
Yeah.
But there is a world here where you look up and you're like, is that 20-17 Tennessee in the fourth? Like, and it's like Allen is like 9 of 26 with like 3 interceptions, and Will Levis is also 9 of 26 with 3 interceptions. And it's just a complete mid-off to see who can run the ball a little bit better in the fourth quarter. Yeah, you got to love the coverage maps, man. I love that Fox was just like, we're not going to screw around. The whole country's getting Chiefs Niners.
Yeah.
Hey, we're not going to carve out Sarasota here. Like, everybody's getting it.
So Fox does have some early games. I think they have 4 early games, right? And then Detroit, Minnesota is one of them. So then it reflects on the CBS map as well, because CBS has 2 late games because Fox only has 1 late game in terms of the broadcast. But you look at the CBS broadcast map, there's splotches, right? Of just like
chaos,
of green, of which is Las Vegas and LA. Like Miami has that game, but like all of Florida has Houston and Green Bay. Minnesota has Las Vegas at LA. Detroit has it because they have the early game, obviously, which is Minnesota and Detroit. Right. And then Indy has it a little bit. Atlanta has a splotch of green. And then Seattle, for some reason, has this game as well. Like, why not? Let's just throw in these splotches everywhere on this project.
Sure, what the hell? Let's just whale them in there.
Like they took a paintball gun and were like, all right, this is where this game's going to go, and then just shot it at the map.
Yeah, like there's even like the Giants-Eagles is like somehow like a little bit in Texas.
Oh, yeah, it is.
It's like, yeah, sure, just sprinkle that in there. Like, why? Because it's an NFC East game? Like, is that the reasoning? Like, what? Like,
yeah.
Are people clamoring for that? Do the Cowboys fans not see enough bad NFC East football every week?
Baton Rouge gets the Cincinnati-Cleveland game.
Oh, you knew that was coming.
Yeah. I mean,
they're all about that, man. Yeah. They're all about just like Jaden Daniels and Joe Burrow.
They're going to pepper those 2 teams in that city.
So you're going to watch this. You're going to like it. And to be fair, Baton Rouge is like, thank God it's not the Saints. Anything other than that. But no, this slate's actually really good because we get that crap game out of the way Thursday, and then early Sunday morning we get rid of the Pats and the Jags. So like by the time we get to noon, you're like, damn, all right, like real football games. Not bad, especially considering there's actually like 2 somewhat interesting Monday night games. One actually really good game. The other one's But no, it's good. I will say, as is my way here, can we stop the fucking Steelers, please? The Steelers, the Giants in prime time. It's enough, man. They're unwatchable things. And don't worry, because I swear to you, I said this without looking. So I just clicked on Week 8 schedule. You know what the Monday night game is?
Oh, no, I haven't looked yet.
It's the Giants at the Steelers. It was like, fuck you, Verderame. You're getting them both. Like, why? Who is asking for this? My God, who wants to see this shit? Who wants to watch Daniel Jones and like whoever the hell's playing quarterback for the Steelers? Oh my God. Like, how many more of these games? And they, by the way, if you're sick of Dallas, don't worry, because they're the Sunday night game. You're getting them in a baptism at San Francisco. Okay? Like, at least at San Francisco. But my God, man, who is asking for this? Who's asking for this? And then week 9, you ready for Jacksonville at Philly? Because that's Sunday night, baby. Get ready. Now, that game, God willing, will get flexed.
Yeah.
I mean, if they don't flex, so you got that. I'm just looking at the games that week. Bro, flex in Detroit and Green Bay.
Oh, yeah.
For the love of God, flex it in. And if you can't flex that in because, like, Fox is controlling that or something, then I don't care. Give me Miami and Buffalo, assuming Tua is back. Like, yeah, the Dolphins will probably get smoked, but, like, it's better than Jacksonville, Philly. Like, who the hell's on board? The NFL needs to be... I'm going to write a column about this for SI. I'm going to call them on the car. This is a disgrace.
Do it. The Bears-Commanders game did get flexed, to a later slot. It didn't get to the Sunday night game, sadly, but it got flexed to a later slot. Deservedly. The 2 rookie quarterbacks, 2 Rookie of the Year candidates going against each other. I think that should be an interesting game. But, yeah. Any other final thoughts, Matt, before we get out of here? We've given the people a good out. This is an extra jam-packed edition of That Football Show. I hope the people appreciate it.
Yeah, they better. Honestly, they better. My favorite thing is this time of year, I always look at the primetime schedule the rest of the year, and I'm like, which games are the most hilarious?
Yeah.
Like, I got a good contender for you right here. Week 13, which, by the way, is a great slate because that's a Thanksgiving week slate.
Yeah.
Great games until you get to Monday night. Can't flex that one. Buddy, I hope you're ready because it's Cleveland at Denver. Just a tragedy of a football game.
Oh, no.
That's right. I'm looking at all those games right now. That's got to be the worst. I think it's close.
What's really funny is at one point they thought this is going to be a good game. And, I don't know why. Like, I know that, like...
Right, no one thought this was a good game.
Right, nobody at any point. Like, I know that the Browns had, like, a pretty talented roster, but nobody really thought that, like, the Browns were going to be, like, that good, or, like, even the Broncos either.
Yeah, it's definitely the worst game. Like, this is... By the way, the Christmas week is the biggest shit show I've ever seen in my life. Like, you have 2 games on Christmas on a Wednesday. You have Thursday night football. You have 7 games on Sunday, including Sunday night, which is Miami at Cleveland. Buckle up. And then Monday night, which is a great game, Detroit at San Francisco. But then they have 5 other games that are just like, we don't know when we're going to play them, and they're just flex games. Like, what is happening? Like, it's just like, it's football Christmas week long. Like, okay.
What happened to playing football on Sundays? What happened to that?
God, like, we just, and half those effing games are going to be on Saturday while Toledo's in a bowl game.
Yeah, I got to watch that.
Yeah, I mean, come on. Duke's Mayo Bowl.
Respect. You have to respect the pageantry and tradition of college football. Come on.
You're going to watch Duke's Mayo Bowl, or you're going to watch Chargers at Pats. Okay?
Duke's Mayo Bowl.
Yeah,
will not be close. Yeah, I got to see who gets the mayo dumped on him.
The NFL, bro. The scheduling is just. But yeah, that Cleveland Denver game, that's amazing. That's gonna be.
Yeah,
that's a game that everybody's gonna be. I'm not watching this, and then we're all gonna be sitting there like, I can't believe I'm watching.
I can't believe I'm watching this. Yeah.
Yeah. Your wife comes in. You're like, honey, do you have to watch this game? Like, no, I don't. But also at the same time, kind of, yeah.
Yeah, you don't want to miss out on what happens in that
What
game.
if something hilarious happens?
Right.
What if the Sean's 0 of 20 to start the game? Like, I need to be there. I can't be the guy who's like, bro, I missed it.
Right.
FOMO is real.
FOMO is very real. And hopefully you listened all the way to the end of this podcast so you didn't get FOMO. We appreciate you guys hanging with us all the way to the end of this jam-packed episode of That Football Show. Appreciate Ben Heisler for hopping on, giving us his picks earlier in the show. That's going to do it for this week's edition of That Football Show. Thank you to Ben Holiday, Bottled and Bond Bourbon, Holiday Distillery, Underdog. Go download the Underdog app. Use the code KCSN, get your free pick and some bonus cash up to $1,000 if you use that code KCSN on your first deposit. Go check them out. So for Matt Verderame, I'm Tucker Franklin. We'll catch you guys next week on That Football Show.